My name is Bobby Morrow. I've been serving my country for many years. Throughout my career, I've carried out operations and gathered intelligence in various parts of the world on behalf of my nation. Over the years, I've faced numerous dangers, but none were as perilous as the one I'm about to tell you. In 2005, I was called back from Afghanistan to the United States. The reason for my return was a very special mission waiting for me. My task was to infiltrate the Riccielli Mafia family, a powerful organization operating in New Jersey and New York, and bring them down. After many successful operations I had conducted and led both domestically and abroad, it was decided that I was the right man for this mission. There was another reason. My father was Italian, which gave me a significant advantage in infiltrating the Mafia. Before starting the mission, I was given a week to prepare. I was about to embark on a new life. I didn't know how difficult it would be to play a double game, but the hardest part was knowing I'd constantly be face-to-face with danger. On top of that, I had no idea how long I would be involved in this perilous mission. During this time, I had to be separated from my family and children. For their safety, they were relocated to another city. A few days remained before I began the mission. Standing in front of the mirror, I questioned whether I was ready to become the ruthless person I needed to be. And then, the big day arrived. By February 1st, 2005, the operation was officially underway. The first step was to establish contact with a family member. This was my ticket into the Mafia. The target was clear: Isabella Ricci, the boss's daughter. The intelligence I received consistently reported that Isabella frequently partied at an exclusive nightclub in New York with her friends. The nightclub was the ideal location for initiating contact. Isabella always arrived with a small group of friends. The plan was simple. I needed to gain her father's attention by saving her from a dangerous situation. Around 1 a.m., Isabella and her friends entered the club. I quietly observed from a corner, waiting for the right moment to execute the plan. Isabella and her group were drinking, dancing, and enjoying themselves. After about an hour of watching, it was time to act. The plan was straightforward. I would become the hero by rescuing her from some bad guys. But don't let the term bad guys fool you. Those bad guys were actually my colleagues, Chris and Evan, who were also part of the operation. Chris approached Isabella while Evan moved toward her friend, initiating a dance. After a few moments, Chris leaned in closer to Isabella, suggesting something she immediately refused. When she tried to walk away, Chris grabbed her arm, attempting to force her. Isabella slapped him across the face, pulling her friend along as they left the dance floor to collect their belongings. What made our operation easier was Isabella's consistent refusal of the bodyguards her father provided, preferring to visit the club only with her friends. Shortly after, Isabella and her group retrieved their belongings and exited the nightclub. Chris and Evan followed them slowly, keeping up the act. When Isabella reached the valet stand and requested her car, Chris started harassing the women again. "You're going to pay for slapping me, you little piece of shit," he barked, stepping aggressively toward her. Isabella, refusing to back down, snapped back, "I'll have my father hang you by your balls, you idiot." The commotion outside mixed with the pounding music still coming from the club. Finally, the valet brought Isabella's car around, but as the women prepared to leave, Evan punctured the car's tire with a knife. This was the moment I had been waiting for. I had been watching them from across the street, standing about 20 meters back. As soon as I saw Evan deflate the tire, I moved quickly toward them. Chris and Evan had their backs turned to me, giving me the perfect moment to step in. "Yo, young man," I called out firmly as I approached, my voice cutting through the noise. "Why don't you pick on someone your own size? Let the ladies go home in peace." Evan pushed Chris away as he charged at me and pulled out a knife, heading straight toward me. Everything was going according to the script. After skillfully taking Evan down, it was Chris's turn. I could see Isabella and her friends looking at me as if I were their savior. When it was Chris's turn, I let him land a punch on me first to make the scene more realistic. However, it didn't take long before Chris joined Evan on the ground. Evan helped Chris up and said, "This isn't over, shithead. We'll see you again," as they walked away. At that moment, Isabella picked up something from the ground and threw it at them, shouting, "You're dead, assholes. My father will have you hung by your balls if you don't leave this city." Her voice echoed through the street, blending with the music still playing from the nightclub. One of her friends exclaimed, "Oh my God, this man just saved our lives," as they all approached me. Isabella, however, wasn't one to fall for such acts easily. Though she understood she owed me a thank you. Without saying a word, I waited for her and her tipsy friends to acknowledge me. Finally, Isabella stepped forward and said, "Thank you, tough guy. You handled those jerks pretty well. My father will make them regret this when he finds them." "I'm Isabella," she said, offering her hand to shake. "I'm John," I replied, introducing myself. Then I added, "If you'd like, I can give you a ride to where you're headed," gesturing toward my Mustang parked across the street. Isabella wasn't as easily swayed as I'd expected, but her friends interjected, "The car tire is flat anyway. That would be great," cutting off whatever objection Isabella might have had. After a moment of thought, she agreed. I escorted them to my car and dropped them off near a large, lavish mansion. As Isabella contemplated how to retrieve her car from the club, I offered, "I own a garage. I can replace your tire, and you can pick it up from there if that works for you." I handed her my business card. Taking the card with a smile, Isabella said, "All right then, take good care of my car. I'll pick it up from you," and shook my hand before walking toward her house with a smile. What I did for his daughter had to mean something to Don Giovanni. This act of goodwill was supposed to catch his attention. The first phase of the mission seemed successful. Now it was time to wait. The next morning, when I arrived at the garage, Isabella's car was already there, its tire replaced. I waited for the plan to unfold. Shortly after, I heard voices behind me. In a distinct Italian accent, a man asked, "Does John work here?" The first part of the plan had worked. I was one step closer to the target. I turned around and said, "I'm John," addressing the man. He was from the family, Silvio Riccielli, Isabella's uncle. "So, you're John, the mysterious helper? Who are you?" he asked, glaring at me with a threatening look. "I'm just a mechanic," I replied calmly. "I see. Do you make enough fixing cars to hang out at the city's finest spots?" he questioned. "Sometimes I just need to clear my head," I said. "And during those times, you play the hero?" He interrupted me. "I just did what a man has to do," I replied. He pointed to Isabella's car and asked, "How much for the car repair?" "Just $50, I answered. He nodded to one of the men behind him to take the car and handed me $100, saying, "Keep the change." As he turned to leave, he suddenly stopped, removed his sunglasses, and said, "Would you like to make more money than you're making here?" "How?" I asked. "What you did for Isabella was a big deal for us. Family is important to us. I don't want to repay you with just a $50 tip. I might have some work for you if you're not afraid to get your hands dirty," he said, smiling. "All you'll have to do is help us dismantle a car we bring in and sort out the parts we want to sell," he explained, waiting for my answer. "Yeah, I think I can do that," I said. "Then we'll see you again," he said, putting his sunglasses back on and getting into his car. He drove away from the garage. The first step seemed successful. It was time to get my hands dirty.